Hi, I'm Chef Raphael and welcome to a new episode of Cooking with Chef Raphael, a show that's meant to make you a better home cook. Now, today I'm going to show you a simple recipe of how to fold and to make samosa pastries. Last week I actually showed you how to make the mincemeat. So for the ingredients, first of all, you need the mincemeat. So I have the pre-cooked mincemeat. You'll also need some all-purpose flour, some water, and some salt. What I usually like doing is making a well, like basically a hole at the center where I'll add my water. So the trick when you're making your dough is to gently mix the water and the flour. This is a similar procedure when you're making chapati. Some people go for warm water. What I'm using here is just room temperature water. So you really don't need the hot or warm water. The idea is to get the consistency right. I'll add a little bit of salt. What should happen is that you need, as you're kneading your dough, it should not be too hard, it should not be too soft. What I'll do now is transfer it to my surface and we'll continue kneading. So this is good, it's not sticky. If it was a little bit sticky, just sprinkle more flour to it. And now the trick for kneading is roll it like this into a long strip and then turn it. This will take about 2 to 3 minutes when you're doing it by hand. The bigger it is, the more time it'll take to knead it. But what you want to see when it's ready is that it's smoothened out like this. You actually form it into a ball like that. Place it in your bowl and then you give it time to rest. I prefer a cling film because what I usually do is either you can cover the whole bowl like that, or you can go into the dough and then cover it completely. Because the idea is just to make sure that there's no air that penetrates into the dough. So let it rest for about 15 minutes and then go to the next step. So it's been about 15 minutes since we covered our dough, and when you press into it, you can see when the dough is soft. And now what you want to do, I want to roll it into equal sized balls. I like using this method because it actually gives me accuracy in terms of the size that I'm doing. So make it into a ball and then start rolling it. And the idea when you're doing the samosa dough or the pockets like this is to roll it into a thin layer, push towards the outside, yeah, and then at the center, because sometimes the center, if you push too much, what will happen, to be too thin. Now at this stage you have to be really careful because it can easily tear. So you want it to be this light, and then now we'll go to cook it. So when it comes to cooking, make sure that you have a hot pan, not too hot and of course not cold. And now you take your dough. Now what good thing with me, I have a big pan. So it also depends on the size of your pan. If you have a small pan, then you may need to make your dough a little bit smaller. The idea is to let it cook until it starts turning a little bit white. It changes the color basically, like that. So now what I will do, I'll get a plate and a knife and then cut. Now that it's nice and round, now what you need to do is to cut them into four pieces, basically into 4 parts, like that. So this is what now we'll use to make our pockets. The glue is basically the all-purpose flour with a little bit of water. You just make it to a thick consistency. You don't want it too thick and also not too light. So this will be my glue, and on the round side, pull one side, apply a glue, not too much, and then bring the other half, fold. Try and make it as tight as possible on one end. A small hole is still okay. Try and make it as small as possible. Remember, whatever mixture you're having, it has to be cold. So using a small spoon, Take just enough like that, and then what you need to do is press. Make sure that it goes until the bottom of the pocket, but press on top like that, and then once again take your glue, apply on the top, the tip of the pocket like that, and then press until it sticks. So our pockets are now ready. The thing about deep frying is that the oil has to be a lot. The oil is hot, and one way you can tell it's hot is by dipping one small piece, and when it comes out up fast, immediately you know it's ready. So gently dip your samosas into the hot oil. And cook just enough that they're all floating together, they're not lying on top of each other. Allow them to cook on the first side, and then turn them so the other side also browns. So that's has been the samosa recipe guide. I've showed you, I hope you've learned something today from the cooking of the dough, the kneading, the pockets, and now the deep frying. But until next time, make sure you subscribe to my channel, following me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I've been your host, Chef Raphael. Goodbye.